Hi guys, so good afternoon and welcome back to my magical world. Again, today is Friday, May 26, 2023, and currently it's 4:58 in the afternoon. So we are still finishing, but now I'm in a more stable environment. So this looks better. The air is pretty much it's I like I like it. It's peaceful here. Because I've been in like a chaotic traveling. Not chaotic, but I'm just exhausted. Like overall, most of the time, it's always like that. So, I have to be in many places, guys. Nakakapagod siya, but um, since I'm still figuring some things out with my life, so yun. Also, I learned something today, like from YouTube. Basta guys, like I'm gonna tell you soon, okay? But now inaayos ko pa yung there are a lot of things that needs to stabilize. Okay, ganun na lang para madali. So medyo sinisipon ako ngayon. I don't know, because of the weather or I don't know. But we are going, eto na, let's read na. I'm gonna read for you guys page 63 and 64. So we have a lot of time right now. So let's do it, guys. Okay, so listen. Um we really need to learn a lot of things like right now to figure out how we are going to be able to survive and to how to maneuver this life so well. Okay, so if you are thinking um like you don't have like purpose or anything like that, um like every day is like a mundane thing, so it is just a phase. Know that it's a phase in our life that um you have to undergo. So hindi naman laging nasa rush phase like me. I'm now in a rushing phase. So but if you're a student, especially if you are a student, you have to like remain in an environment where it is stable, kasi you can't be moving around because you have to learn a lot of things. So be very patient. It's not easy naman. Like I can tell you it's not really easy, and I really don't like being a student again. So I'm done. As long as college is done, we're done. So yun lang. Like I just wanna advise you guys that there are really days that are really boring. So you really have to make peace with yourself. So don't be too hard on yourself. Okay? Focus on me. I don't know if you can hear that background. So may inaayos na bahay at the back. But let's continue. Okay? So we're reading the book Flow by Mihaly. Kasi ang haba ng apelyido eh. So you know na that, 'di ba? So let's start. Somehow, the right thing is done without you ever thinking about it or doing anything at all. So it just happens, and yet you are more concentrated, or in the words of a famous long distance ocean cruiser. So one forgets oneself, one forgets everything, seeing only the play of the boat with the sea, the play of the sea around the boat, leaving aside everything not essential to that game. So the loss of the sense of a self separate from the world around it is sometimes accompanied by a feeling of union with the environment, whether it is in the mountain, a team, or in the case of this member of a Japanese motorcycle gang, the run of hundreds of cycles roaring down the streets of Kyoto. I understand something when all of our feelings get tuned up. So when running, we are not in complete harmony at the start, but if the run begins to go well, all of us feel the others. So how can I say this? So when our minds become one at such a time, it is a real pleasure. So when all of us become one, I understand something. All of a sudden, I realize, oh, we're one. We are one. And think if we speed as fast as we can, it will become a real run. So when we realize that we become one flesh, it's supreme. When we get high on speed, at such a moment, it is really super. So, may sumisigaw na bata. Sa taas siya ng puno, guys. So, really like the air here. It's super fresh. Let's So this becoming one flesh, so vividly described by the Japanese teenager, is a very real feature of the flow experience. Persons report feeling it as concretely as they feel relief from hunger or from pain. So it is a greatly rewarding experience, but as we shall see later on, one that presents its own dangers. Preoccupation with the self consumes psychic energy because in everyday life we often feel threatened. So whenever we are threatened, we need to bring the image of we have of ourselves back into awareness so we can find out whether or not the threat is serious. So and how we should meet it. For instance, if walking down the street, I notice some people turning back and looking at me with grins on their faces. The normal thing to do is to immediately to start worrying. So saglit lang guys ah. So, is there something wrong? Do I look funny? Is it the way I walk? Or is my face smudged? So hundreds of times every day we are reminded of the vulnerability of ourselves, and every time these happen, psychic energy is lost trying to restore order to consciousness. So I know that a lot of teenagers are like this. They're like really self-conscious because they are still figuring out their identity, their self, um, everything. Okay, so but in flow there is no room for self-scrutiny. So because enjoyable activities have clear goals, stable rules, and challenges well matched to skills, there is little opportunity for the self to be threatened. When a climber is making a difficult ascent, he is totally taken up in the mountaineering role. So he is 100% a climber, or he would not survive. There is no way for anything or anybody to bring into question kalma, any other aspect of his self. Whether his face is smudged makes absolutely no difference. So the only possible threat is that one that comes from the mountain. So but a good climber is well trained to face that threat, and that does not need to bring the self into play in the process. So the absence of self from consciousness does not mean that a person is in flow has given up the control of his psychic energy. So, or that she is unaware what happens in her body or in her mind. In fact, the opposite is usually true. So when people first learn about the flow experience, they sometimes assume that lack of self-consciousness has something to do with a passive obliteration of the self, a going with the flow. So Southern California style. So, but in fact, the optimal experience involves a very active role for the self. A violinist must be extremely aware of the every moment of her fingers, as well as of the sound entering her ears and of the total form of the piece she is playing, both analytically, note by note, and holistically in terms of its overall design. So a good runner is usually aware of every relevant muscle in his body, or of the rhythm of his breathing, as well as of the performance of his competitors within the overall strategy of the race. So a chess player could not enjoy the game if he were unable to retrieve from his memory at will previous positions, past combinations. So loss of consciousness of self-consciousness does not involve a loss of self, and certainly not a loss of consciousness, but rather only a loss of consciousness of the self. So I hope you understand that. Hirap siya, ano, no? So what slips below the threshold of awareness is the concept of self. The information we use to represent to ourselves who we are, and being able to forget temporarily who we are seems to be very enjoyable. When not preoccupied with ourselves, we actually have a chance to expand the concept of who we are. Loss of self-consciousness can lead to self-transcendence, to a feeling that the boundaries of our being have been pushed forward. So, this feeling is not just a fancy of the imagination, but is based on a concrete experience of close interaction with some other, an interaction that produces a rare sense of unity with these usually foreign entities. During the long watches of the night, the solitary sailor begins to feel that the boat is an extension of himself, moving to the same rhythms toward a common goal. So the violinist, wrapped in the stream of sound she helps to create, feels as if she is part of the harmony part of the harmony of the spheres. So the climber, focusing all her attention on the small irregularities of the rock wall that will have to support her weight safely, speaks of the sense of kinship that develops between fingers and rock, between the frail body and the context of stone, sky, and wind. In a chess tournament, players whose attention has been riveted for hours to the logical battle on board claim that they feel as if they've been merged into a powerful field of force, clashing with other forces in some non-material dimension of existence. So medyo mahirap siya guys na intindihin, right? There are some words that are really hard to understand, but it's okay. You don't actually need to comprehend all of that, but you must. You don't need, but you must. So yan guys, so make sure, like if you don't understand a thing, you try to google it with yourself kasi it will be beneficial to you. So I'm just here like to remind you to study also on your own kasi not everyone naman is, again, you know, it's an exchange of energy. So there are things that you have to learn with yourself, to figure out with yourself. Ayan na guys, medyo maulan na siya a little bit, but still I love the weather. So we're done na guys. So I hope you're all doing well today. So it's been a ano na no, so magjo-June na, 'di ba? So half of the year na, so make sure to make the most of it before transitioning to the next half of the year. So thank you guys for listening, and thank you for helping me make this world a better place for all of us and for the future generation. I hope things will be better, as you know, we let's stabilize everything, you know, all aspects of our life. Sige na guys, and I will see you again because my voice is low energy na. Sige na guys, bye!